Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of The Radium Girls. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Valerie.
So today is birthday month, week number 2, episode number 2 in birthday month. And today we're bringing you a story that involves a twisted love triangle that has harassment, stalking, and a disappearance that ended in a fatal tragedy.
Ooh.
So with further ado, we'll get right in.
Dave Krupa moved to Omaha in 2012 after taking a job managing an auto repair shop. At the time, he was separated from his longtime girlfriend, Amy Flora, with whom he had 2 children. It was his first time on his own in a while. Krupa said he signed up for a couple of dating sites. The first person he met through one of them was a woman named Shanna Elizabeth Gollier, who went by Liz. I thought Liz was very pretty. I was attracted to her right away, so then we set up a date, he said. Liz told him that she was a single mother with 2 kids who were around the same age as his kids. By the 4th date, Krupa said that their relationship escalated and they had started having sex. But Krupa said that he was also upfront with Liz, telling her that he didn't want anything serious and still wanted to continue seeing other women. Liz seemed to be on the same page as him.
About 6 months after meeting Liz, Krupa said an extremely attractive woman walked into the auto shop. It was Carrie Farver, a single mom who had brought in her Ford Explorer for maintenance. When we looked at each other, there was a little spark, Krupa said. She's showing me something inside the vehicle, and we're standing there, and we're very close, and there was some tension. After she came into his work for a second time, Dave asked Carrie out, and the pair went on a date where they immediately hit it off. So he invited her back to his apartment after dinner. Dave said Carrie told him she didn't want anything serious. I felt like I hit the jackpot with that, Dave said. However, just as things were hitting up, Liz turned up. She wanted to collect some things she'd left there. Dave explained the situation to Carrie, and she understood but decided to call it an early night. Dave buzzed Liz in and let Carrie out, and the 2 women passed each other in the hall. It was a brief encounter, but one that would change the lives of 3 people involved forever.
Yikes.
This is a true story, by the way. I don't know if we need to explain that, but this is a true story.
On the morning of November 13th, 2012, after they had been dating for just 2 weeks, Dave said he got ready for work, kissed Carrie on the way out, and told her he would see her later that evening. Then, around mid-morning, Dave said he got a strange text from her saying she wanted to move in together, which was very left field because we had already talked about that not happening, he said. Dave texted her back saying he wasn't interested. She responded almost immediately, saying, "Fine, I hate you. I'm dating someone else. I don't want to see you anymore. Go away." Okay, Carrie. Lots of profanity, Dave said. I didn't know what to think. I was blown away. When Dave returned home that night, Carrie was gone. Nearly 2 days had passed before he said his phone started blowing up again with texts in which Carrie said, in part, "I hate you. You've ruined my life. You're a terrible person." At the moment, Dave said he thought, "I don't need this. I dodged a bullet." Carrie's mother, Nancy Rainey, says her daughter was diagnosed with depression in her late 20s, a few years after having her son, Max Farver, and that she was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Around the time Dave was receiving those intense text messages, Nancy said she too began receiving strange texts. One message claimed Carrie had taken a new job in Kansas, which Nancy said totally threw me. She tried to get Carrie on the phone, but said her daughter wouldn't call her back, which was unusual. When Carrie didn't show up on her half-brother's wedding day, Nancy reported her missing. Nancy said she told the police her daughter was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and that she was on medication. She also said that she couldn't get the police to take her plea seriously. She was desperately searching for her daughter with little help from the authorities who believed she had just left on her own free will. Meanwhile, Dave said he continued to receive hundreds of harassing text messages and emails from Carrie. "I will do what I can to make you suffer," one message said. Another said, "We belong together, Dave." That does sound very bipolar.
It does.
He said most of the messages focused on Liz, the woman that Dave had previously dated and crossed paths with Carrie in Dave's apartment building hallway.
Liz told him she was also receiving harassing texts and emails. One day, Dave said Liz called him, saying her garage has been vandalized. Upon pulling into the garage, she found that someone had written "Horror from Dave" on the inside in spray paint, Dave said. Liz reported the incident to Omaha police in late November 2012. As the weeks went by, Carrie continued to miss more family events, including her own birthday, her son's 15th birthday, Thanksgiving, and then her father's funeral. That's a lot of events. And her son?
Yeah.
Sad.
And her dad's funeral?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I were her mom, definitely would have pushed harder. Like, something's up.
Like something fishy.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy was convinced something was wrong. She said she was still getting texts from Carrie and begged her daughter to call her so she could hear her voice, but she never did. She said Max also started getting messages from her, saying she was going to Kansas and coming to get him, but she would never show up. Nancy said the texts became mean and angry, saying I wasn't a good mother and that I was controlling. She noticed that oftentimes the text would be full of grammatical and punctuation errors as well as spelling mistakes, which she said was out of her character for her daughter, who was a stickler for punctuation and spelling.
That would be me. Like, if I'm texting you and we're not, like, in a continuous conversation, if I'm first, like, texting you out of nowhere and there's a bunch of errors in it, that's not me. Or I'm really drunk. Like, make sure, because you know when I'm going out or something like that, you know if it's a day that I'm probably going to be drinking some alcohol or whatever. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm very, like, may not have the best punctuation, but spelling, yeah, I gotta have the spelling.
I usually just get lazy about it. So, like, let it go.
I can definitely tell when it's like, okay, this is Val texting, or no, this is drunk Val texting, or, well, maybe not drunk Val, but still, I could definitely tell if it's not you, I think.
You think
you're out of norm grammatical errors, yeah.
True.
Especially with Essence. We'd be able to definitely tell if it wasn't her, because she corrects us.
Yeah. Definitely.
For Dave, the harassment wasn't just over text and email. He was also being stalked. On one specific occasion, I was sitting in my lazy boy with my feet up, watching TV, trying to relax, and it's nighttime, and I get a text saying, "I see you. You're sitting in your chair with your feet propped up, wearing a blue shirt." And those things were true, he said. Carrie. One night in January 2013, almost 2 months after the harassment began, Dave was returning home from work when he noticed a familiar vehicle in a nearby parking lot. As he got closer, he realized it was Carrie's Ford Explorer. Having worked on the car, he knew it fairly well, so he said he took a photo of the license plate and sent it to Omaha police. When police searched the car, they were able to find only a single fingerprint on a mint container. It didn't match Carrie or anyone in the FBI's national database. 6 months into Carrie's disappearance, Max decided to message his mother's Facebook account to see what would happen. She messaged back. It said, "Hey, little man, how are you?" He asked her to answer 3 questions to prove that it was really her: what his middle name was, what the name of their first dog was, and what his best friend's name was, and she never responded to that message. Damn. I just got chills.
That poor kid.
Yeah, that's so sad. But that poor kid to, like, just, reach out to your mom who's been missing for 6 months, and
yeah,
like, the anxiety I'm sure he felt at that moment when she didn't respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
All the things going through his mind, I cannot imagine.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, Dave and Liz, who were still seeing each other off and on, were still receiving hostile, nasty text messages. It was actually extremely common for us to be hanging out on a couch, watching TV or something, and both of our phones would start blowing up with text messages and emails from Carrie, Dave said. At one point, Dave said he got an email from Carrie threatening to kill Liz, and that it included a photo of a woman tied up in the trunk of a car. Dave called Liz, who confirmed she was fine. Later, Dave said Carrie sent him a link to a fake obituary for Liz. Things are crazy.
It's great.
Then, in August 2013, Liz's house caught fire, and Liz told police she suspected Carrie was the culprit. Dave said he had become so paranoid by that point that he brought a gun, a 9mm Smith & Wesson pistol. First of all, she killed my whole pets. She killed all my pets.
Your pets?
She killed her pets.
Carrie killed Liz's pets.
Yeah. She killed all her pets.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Well, she was trying to kill her.
She killed her pets.
If Carrie did this, she might not have known. That's sad, though. I'm a little bit triggered,
like,
to be honest.
2 dogs and cat man.
And a snake.
And a snake. Those poor pets. Terrifying intrusions kept happening to him. At one point, the auto shop where Dave worked was vandalized. In January 2014, Dave was with his high school friend Heather Twed in his apartment when Heather said she watched his cell phone blow up with messages and then later heard someone jiggling the front door handle. When they were in bed that night, Heather said a brick was thrown through the window.
Not a new grill at Dave's house.
I know. Not him sleeping in bed with someone.
Dave's ex-girlfriend, Amy Flora, the mother of his 2 children, had also received threatening messages from Carrie. By spring of 2015, it had been 2.5 years since everyone had seen Carrie, yet the harassment continued. 2.5 years.
Years has been going on.
Mm-hmm. No way. I'd have done. I mean, I'm sure just changing your phone number is probably not gonna solve it when you're dealing with a stalker. But
somehow finding out everybody's number.
I probably would have changed my identity or something.
So, yeah, put me in what do you call it? When the
witness protection.
Yes, put me in witness protection for my own safety.
Right.
Goodness, how would you be able to deal with this for that long? I would go crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would literally go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Always watching the back. Oh, I would have gray hair.
I'd have anxiety, out the roof. Yeah. Yep.
Nope.
Detectives Ryan Avis and Jim Doty of the Potawatomi.
Good job. Sounded accurate.
This sounds good enough. The Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office in Council Bluffs, Iowa, had never worked on the case, but they had heard about it in the office. They were so intrigued by Carrie's mysterious disappearance that they volunteered to take it on. I'd kind of be intrigued too.
Yeah.
At this point, she's disappeared and not only her mother, but her son has made many attempts to actually reach her. Yet here she is harassing these people. That's so odd.
And they're harassing them, vandalizing stuff, arson. Mm-hmm. That's where is
odd.
She had ghosts. What is she? What is she doing?
This is odd. The 2 detectives decided to approach the case from different angles. Jim's going to work it like she's dead, and I'm going to work it like she's alive. I'm going to try and prove every which way that I can that Carrie is still out there, and Jim is going to try and prove every which way that she is not. So they started from the beginning, digging through the original case file. The detectives were aware of Carrie's bipolar diagnosis, but they didn't think that had anything to do with her disappearance. Ryan thought it was alarming that there hadn't been any activity in her checking account the entire time she had been gone. That's very suspicious. 2.5 years of you not touching your checking account? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe automatic payments or something like that, but getting gas or getting groceries, stuff like that's not happening. Yeah, that's very suspicious.
Where are you eating? Mm-hmm. Your car was in his parking lot.
Or what illegal activity are you doing that you're just getting cash and nothing, you got cash flow outside of your check. Something sus about that.
If I had money in my checking account, I would be tempted to use it.
I mean, it's definitely unheard of for you to, I can't go flipping 2 days without spending money out of my checking account. Yeah. It's not normal for adults to just up and leave and literally spend no money. No one's seen them and no one's heard their voice. It just doesn't make sense, Ryan said. She had good income, a good house. I had come to the conclusion that I could not prove she was actually alive. That's sad. Jim said the glaring detail that stuck out for him was Liz, who he said had never been involved in Carrie's life until she went missing. Sounds very sus.
All of a sudden, she's this focus of harassment, he said. Her name was all over the reports, so to me, there is something with Liz. She definitely was a person of interest. The only forms of communication anyone had received from Carrie were electronic. So Jim and Ryan asked their colleague, Anthony Cava, a digital forensics administrator, for help. Both Dave and Liz had agreed to have the content of their phones downloaded in 2013 for the initial group of investigators. This content was included in the original case file, and Anthony started connecting the dots. We knew these messages don't seem to really be coming from Carrie Farver, Anthony said. Carrie, or the imposter who was pretending to be Carrie, sent Dave about 15,000 email messages over a 3-year span. It might have been upwards of 25,000 or 50,000 texts in all.
That's insane.
Whew. Got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Whoever was pretending to be Carrie got more and more sophisticated in what they were doing to try to hide their IP address, to try to hide their real identity, he added. The investigators found a photo of Carrie's Ford Explorer and Liz's phone dump, which included metadata that showed the photo had been taken about a month before police recovered the vehicle. Liz? What's she doing with the picture?
Right. Somehow Liz knew where Carrie's vehicle was before law enforcement even did, Jim said. Another thing we found on the phone download was there were 6 calls that were made to Carrie's residence. It was using the *67 prefix to disguise the number, so Liz was calling Carrie 6 times. This didn't make any sense to us because she said she'd only met Carrie one time passing through a hallway. I don't know, do people use *67 anymore?
I don't know about anymore.
Did you use it a lot?
It's a prank call.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. Do kids these days even know what *67 is? I'm going to have to ask my nieces.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask my nieces if they know what dialing *67 does.
I don't know.
That's kind of interesting.
It is.
Especially since they don't know what an AOL dial-up is like.
Mm-hmm.
Or a rotary phone for that.
Stop.
Were you about to say something?
How is Liz getting all these numbers? She's a freaking hacker.
She's a stalker. That's what they do. They spend all their time focused.
Well, what year was this?
2012, 13, 12, I think. It was 2.5 years. I think it started in 2012.
We had cell phones. I was like, maybe we didn't have cell phones and you had to write down all the numbers.
You mean cell phones that can store contacts?
No, maybe I didn't know what year it was. So maybe we didn't have cell phones.
At all?
Yeah, regular phones, And then when people used to have address books back in the day.
Okay, so you mean cell phones that can actually store numbers? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, cell phones, period.
Because cell phones were in the 80s.
I don't remember, girl. But those are huge. Those don't count.
Well, how do they not count?
That doesn't count.
You
probably still had to have an address book.
That's why I'm asking. You mean cell phones that can store numbers?
I guess, but I was
or
just
have
talking about,
access to internet?
I was just talking about house phones. Maybe you had a house phone to call people and had have everybody's number written down.
Oh, you're thinking of how did she get these numbers? Well, there's this thing called the internet. We had the internet in 2012.
But
stalkers do anything. They'll pay for background checks. You know what background checks can turn up? She probably did a background check on him to get his ex or baby mama's name, for one. And then found out her name. She probably went through his phone and got numbers.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I wonder if that's how. If it was their phone number.
Yeah, she probably did.
An address book, because back in the day,
I don't know about the address books. We've been able to store numbers on cell phones for a long time. Yeah, my great grandma always did too. Yeah. Val, you're funny.
I guess I'll go flip through it. Anyway, yeah, this is both correct. So he probably had like a Motorola phone or a Razor.
Back in 2012?
I don't know.
No. Probably iPhones by then. Razors and Motorola's were like...
That was when I was
I think
in
I were high school. Yeah, we graduated in 2009, so... Yeah. You're still off here.
Okay, we had one of the first iPhones.
I had one from China. Like, it wasn't even an iPhone. It was just like a Chinese, looked like an iPhone. It was thick as hell.
Oh, I had the ones that would like flip or whatever, the little side chicks or whatever.
Oh, I always wanted those. I
I
always wanted one of those. Always. I my favorite phone was my BlackBerry, but I always wanted a chocolate, one of those LG chocolates too. But then I actually made a friend who had one, and I played with it a little bit, and I was like, I'm kind of glad I don't have this phone.
Anyway, so he's sitting there with his flip phone. He's showering. He's in another room.
Yeah.
And Liz is over there.
I bet he had some sort of iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Liz is over there writing it all down.
Yeah. She probably watched him. Like, if he had a lock on his phone, he probably did it.
Did they used to have locks back then?
Wow.
I don't remember. I really don't.
What? Yes, they've had locks on their phone for quite a while now. Yes.
Okay. They've been together for a while. She might know his passcode.
On and off, yeah.
On for over 2 years now? 2.5 years?
2.5 years. Well, at that time, when she first started it, though, she started harassing him 2.5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's
true. So we got to think about when she first started.
She's crazy.
She probably did a background check on him, got that info for, like, his ex or whatever from there, and then it did background check on her, and then, escalates from there.
She's just there, like, hiding.
Stalkers will go to any lengths. It's crazy. Back to the story. It was all relevant.
Yeah.
So, the investigators also found the photo of a woman who had been tied up, which had been emailed to Dave and determined it had been taken by Liz's phone. They also discovered a video recording that showed someone walking outside of Dave's apartment. It had been uploaded to YouTube under Carrie's name, but was tied to an IP address registered to Liz's house.
Stupid.
Wow.
Those IP addresses gonna get you.
Gonna get you. In May of 2015, Jim and Ryan went to interview Nancy Rainey, during which they said they believed her claims that her daughter was missing and that something had happened to her. During their meeting, Nancy provided investigators with another clue. She told them that after Carrie disappeared in 2012, she received a text saying Carrie had sold all her furniture and asked Nancy to let the buyer into the house to pick it all up. As supposed proof of the sale, Nancy received a photo of a check for that furniture that was made out to Carrie and signed by Shanna Goyer. Now, if you remember, we told you in the very beginning her name is Shanna Elizabeth Goyer. Goes by Liz. Mm-hmm. She used her real name to sign a check, or,
Yep. And she only briefly met her or whatever, passed by her one time.
Wow. You lost your mind.
And you got a picture of her car. You signing checks. Oh, girl.
And you got a picture of a woman tied up? Like, what? Yeah. Are you dumb? This bitch is dumb.
She is. We knew Liz Goyer's real name was Shanna, Jim said. It was yet another connection between the two women who supposedly were strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that didn't give us any answers on what had happened to Carrie, but we knew that Liz knew more than she was telling us. The investigators also matched the mysterious fingerprint found in Carrie's car to Liz. She didn't know a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
As their investigation was underway, Dave realized the pistol he had purchased for protection was missing. He reported it stolen to the police. On December 4th, 2015, Jim and Ryan were at Potawatomi. I love it.
Yeah.
County Sheriff's Office when Liz walked in. Stunned to see her, they learned that she was there to file a harassment complaint against Dave's ex-girlfriend, Amy Flora.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
After Liz left, Ryan drove over to her house to interview her, pretending it was about her complaint. She told Ryan she now thought it was Flora who had been sending her threatening messages this whole time, not Carrie. The investigator asked if he could download the contents of her phone so they could review the messages. Liz signed the consent form and turned it over.
She dumb. Why would you go into the police station and file? What? Like, I don't get it.
She's like Eileen pawning the dead people's stuff.
That's true. That's exactly what this is. Exactly what this is. Like, come on, you killed this woman.
Y'all gotta be.
Well, I mean, at this point, we figure it's gotta have been her.
Stupid.
Estupido. Ryan said he couldn't believe she agreed to it. Neither can I. Getting access to the information on Liz's phone was an important moment in the investigation. During their conversation, Ryan said Liz mentioned she knew Dave's gun, which she correctly identified as a 9mm Smith & Wesson, was missing and thought that Amy had stole it. She realized that she probably shouldn't know any details about the gun, and then any further questions I asked about the gun, she was very vague, Ryan said.
How smart. Mm-hmm. So, oh yeah, the 9mm Smith & Wesson?
Oh, wait, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, wait, no. No, it might have been a revolver.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I didn't get a good look at it.
Yeah. Never seen it.
Mm-hmm. In a bizarre twist, Liz called 911 the following day, claiming she had been shot in the leg while walking alone at night in Big Lake Park in Council Bluffs.
Liz.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's kind of funny. Investigators said Liz at first claimed she didn't know who the culprit was, and then she later said that she thought it was Amy. Police said that Amy was cleared that same evening. Meanwhile, Anthony got to work sifting through the contents of Liz's phone after the second download. He discovered Liz had registered upwards of 20 or 30 fake email addresses, all of which had some variation of Carrie's name. That's sus.
Man.
And insane.
Very insane.
Anthony also discovered that Liz was using an app which allowed her to schedule future messages. This explained how she could be with Dave and both of their phones would get bombarded with messages. That was a question I had, was like, how did their messages get...
Really?
What?
I figured that out, that she was doing that.
Oh, well, I mean, like, at first I was thinking that, and then I realized that,
crazy bitch.
You can do that.
Yeah, I know. Freaking crazy.
I do it all the time, so I don't know why that thought didn't come through my mind. Speaking of, I just had a scheduled text for today. I wonder if it went off.
Who are you scheduling text for? I ain't ever.
Huh?
I've never scheduled a text.
Really? I do it all the time. I'll do it to, like, myself, to remind myself of something. Mm. And then, like, that one, I did it for Vincent. I scheduled it the other day whenever when we decided that we were going to be able to go to Lexington. And there's this hot sauce called Albert's hot sauce. My dad's name's Albert. Mm. And Vincent's been talking about bringing him some of this hot sauce for like months now. And so I pre-scheduled a text to go off today, the day before I knew he'd be coming over here to pick up some Albert's hot sauce.
Oh my gosh.
So he thinks that I just thought of it. But me...
Oh my gosh.
And it's so funny. I don't remember.
Over here.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I had a pre-scheduled text to Vincent about, like, it was like a Thursday like this, and it was set to go off at 2:00 to remind him to bring something over here for, like, work related. And when I say work, like mowing the yard or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was reminding him to bring something, and I pre-scheduled it like 2 or 3 days before that. The exact same moment he texted me, that text sent to him. So on my end, it looked like his text came in first. No, it looked like mine went to him first and then he said something. Mm-hmm. But on his end, it looked like he sent something and then I replied to it by saying, bring this. I think he said, like, I love you so much or something like that. It was so sweet. It was like a real sentimental moment. And my automatic text went off at the exact same time. Yeah, it was like, I need you to make sure that you bring over some pliers or some shit like that, and he's like trying to be all romantic and stuff. Well, he was like, way to ruin the mood. That's the text I saw was way to ruin the mood or something like that. I'm like, what is he talking about? So I opened it and I saw the full thing and I was like, I was still confused, but then I saw it from his end and it was so funny. I died. So pre-scheduled text can be bad sometimes.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know. I guess the iPhone, maybe it can.
It probably can. I don't know how to do it.
I live by it.
Maybe.
It's awesome. Helps me remember to do stuff.
I guess sometimes I do want to say stuff, but people are asleep. And I'm like, I wish I could send this to them. Must I like snap y'all or something?
Yeah. See, that's the time. You pre-schedule the text. And then you'll completely forget about it until somebody replies and you're like, oh yeah. I do it to you all the time.
I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, I pre-schedule text to you all the time.
Rude.
Oh my gosh, it's too funny. How's that offended?
Because you weren't thinking of me.
I was thinking of you in a moment, and then I had to reschedule it so that I could remember.
The moment.
You know, it's like I can't enjoy this moment because she might be in the movies or something. So let me schedule it
the
later.
Timeline. Can't just reschedule stuff.
I can't reschedule fate, like destiny, whatever it's called.
You tell me when you think it.
Okay, I'll remember that. Let me send a scheduled text to remember to tell you tonight. I don't know. Oh my god, that was funny.
True. Over here messing with the timeline. Okay. She was able to send messages pretending to be Carrie, and they would arrive while she was sitting on the couch next to Dave. Anthony added. From Dave's point of view, Liz couldn't have sent it because she was sitting next to him the whole time. Anthony estimated Liz must have spent about 40 to 50 hours a week impersonating Carrie. Girl, did you not have a job?
No, that's her job. That's why I said stalkers, that is what they do. How did
she get money? Did she have 2 kids? Where were her kids? She probably got her kids. I don't know.
Did she lie about having kids?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's a full-time job.
But, sorry, even 2 years, I feel like you'd be like, where are your kids? 40, 50 hours, so that's what you're doing in your spare time? If you have a job?
They don't have spare time. That is their job.
So she got 2 jobs. If she had a real job, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
She's too busy vandalizing and murdering pets.
Yeah. Oh. That's so sad.
That's like past... No, it's not past stalker. That is stalker.
That is stalker. It's psychotic.
That's why you don't go on dating apps.
I'm not Vincent on a dating app.
Exes be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Bitches be crazy.
Bitches be crazy, but exes be crazy. Sometimes. This seemed to be a full-time occupation for her, trying to stalk people and send them messages, he said. It was.
Mm-hmm.
Jim and Ryan brought Liz in for an interview 2 weeks after she was shot. At the time, they said Liz kept pushing them to investigate Amy and had no idea she herself was the main suspect in Carrie's disappearance. Oh, Liz. Jim and Ryan came up with a plan. They were going to tell Liz they believed her story, that Amy had shot her, and they wanted Liz's help to get Amy to incriminate herself. They asked Liz to reach out to Amy and see if she would tell her anything about what happened to Carrie. Of course, the detectives knew Amy had nothing to do with Carrie's disappearance or the threatening messages that had been sent for years. Their plan had worked. They said Liz almost immediately fabricated emails she said were from Amy.
Wow.
That's not very smart, Liz.
We started receiving messages that she said were from Amy, where Amy confesses to shooting Liz at Big Lake Park, Jim said. He and Ryan continued to press Liz to ask Amy, who they knew to be Liz, for details about Carrie's death. A few days later, Liz did exactly that. They said she forwarded an email to them that had supposedly come from Amy, saying she had stabbed Carrie 3 to 4 times and stuffed her body into a garbage bag. The details were bone-chilling because they were graphic, Jim said. As time went on, the investigators said Liz grew increasingly upset that they hadn't arrested Amy. Jim explained to her that he needed more information only the killer would know. Within hours, they said more confession emails from Amy appeared. The emails included that Carrie had been stabbed to death in her own car. These emails gave us Carrie's vehicle as a crime scene, Jim said. What we wanted to do was go back and look at that vehicle to determine if that crime happened there. This was the third time police had searched Carrie's car, but this time, Jim says they pulled the fabric off the passenger seat. Once uncovered, they found a red stain that was determined to be Carrie's blood. Damn.
3 times.
Liz may be stupid, but she's smart.
Smart and stupid.
Smart and stupid. Like, smart in some aspects, but now she's just dumb.
Like, she started out smart, and then she got dumb.
Very. She let him on for 2.5 years, but that was it.
You've been carrying this act for 2.5 years!
That's crazy.
Goodness!
Definitely a different level of psycho.
Holy crap, man. Ugh. I don't even know. I don't even know. That's another kind of psychotic.
It is. It really is. Yep.
Because the murder most likely took place in Omaha, the Omaha Police Department had to be involved, and a cold case homicide detective, Dave Schneider, joined the investigation. Detective Schneider brought Liz in for questioning and confronted her with the evidence Jim, Ryan, and Anthony had gathered so far. The photos on her cell phone, the IP addresses traced back to her house, and the confession emails from Amy. Liz denied knowing anything and claimed she didn't have internet service. Okay, Amy. Liz. Okay, Liz. But while she was being interrogated, Jim and Ryan had gotten a search warrant for her apartment.
Where they found internet.
Right. They're gonna know if you got internet, girl. Oh, I don't have internet service. I got AOL. Dial up. Inside, they found some of Carrie's possessions, including a digital camera and a camcorder, which they believe Liz had stolen from Carrie's home. Why are you keeping her stuff? Put it in the pawn shop.
Oh,
okay.
Not Eileen. Sorry. I was lost in thought. Put it in the pawn shop.
Get it. On the camcorder, they found a video of Carrie talking about how someone had vandalized her car. It was timestamped 2 days before she disappeared. On December 22nd, 2016, Liz was arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
It's about damn time.
Then, a few months before the trial was set to begin in 2017, Dave remembered he had a tablet in storage and turned it over to investigators. On the tablet, Anthony discovered a micro SD memory card that had also been in Liz's phone around the time of the murder. The SD card had thousands of deleted images, all of which he was able to recover. Yes, technology.
I came to a photo that no one had seen before, Anthony said. I wasn't sure what I was looking at first, but it turned out to be a human foot with a tattoo. The tattoo was one of the Chinese symbols for the word mother. It was the same one Carrie had on her foot. It was shocking, Anthony said. It made me realize that Liz killed Carrie, and she's taking photos of her body. At trial, Liz was painted as a diabolical and cruel woman who killed Carrie and then spent years violently harassing others. That's a pretty accurate description of her. Liz's defense attorney argued that all of the evidence from the state was circumstantial, that at one point Liz had been considered a victim in all this, and Carrie's body hasn't even been found. A victim? A victim of what? What could Liz possibly...
Text and emails, and her house was burned down, and her pets were killed.
So a victim of her own demise?
Yeah, but they didn't know that.
Jeez.
She killed her own freaking pets, man.
That's fucked.
Her dogs and her cat and her snake.
Wasn't there one more? No, it was 2 dogs, a cat, and a snake.
How could you do that? She got no soul.
No soul. No soul.
No soul.
In 2017, Judge Timothy Burns found Liz guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced her to life in prison. During his ruling, Burns said, Carrie did not voluntarily disappear and drop off the face of the earth. Very sadly, she was murdered.
Can they... I guess they can. Like proof.
What?
Without a doubt. that she killed Carrie.
Well, they've got a fingerprint and blood at the scene in her car. Mm-hmm. She's got items with a picture of Carrie's foot.
That's true.
Like, if she didn't kill her, if they can't, like, they can prove that she was somehow involved, 100%.
Yeah, what's that called?
Accomplice?
No, where you have, like, circumstantial evidence, I guess. Is that what it's called? Like, you don't have proof, but you have enough circumstantial evidence that they're found guilty.
Well, that's what they said. That Liz's defense attorney was arguing that it was circumstantial.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, so, okay, then I guess that works. Whatever, bitch.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it is circumstantial, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you got a fingerprint in her car. You got blood where but that is.
Do that. We know. Like, we know Casey Anthony killed her daughter, but she got off.
That's true. Man. That's going to be a rough story. Mm-hmm. To get through at the very least. I mean, we might be okay researching it, but getting through it, speaking on it, yeah, we might have a comment every freaking minute.
Yes.
I was about to start reading, too.
See? That's a good story.
Yeah. It was a good one.
So that's when Dave realized the woman he was currently dating was actually the person who had been stalking him for over 4 years. 4 years.
That's insane.
How do you keep that up for 4 years? Like, no man ain't worth it.
No. Not at all. No human is worth it.
No.
Just come on.
Not worth my time. Don't be stalking people. Okay. You will find someone who loves you. There are billions of people on this planet, right?
Yeah.
Millions or billions. There's a lot of people on this planet. Someone will love you, okay?
Oh my gosh. Pretty sure it's billions, by the way.
Okay. You don't gotta stalk people. I don't know, after COVID, it might be millions.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh.
Anyway. Liz had burnt down her own house, killing her pets, and had shot herself in the leg.
I forgot that she did that too.
She shot herself in the leg.
Like, what?
And blamed Amy. Girl. How do you think you're not going to get caught with all these lies? Like, all these stupid lies, too.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Carrie had been dead this whole time.
That's sad.
That is sad. And then, like, everybody, I guess, I don't know, maybe not. I was going to say everybody thought she was alive, but I guess, I don't know. They knew something was up.
They knew something. Her mom and her son. Yeah. They knew something was up.
Freaking Dave didn't do shit. He was just like, oh, dodged a bullet.
Yeah, fuck.
Well, she stopped your ass.
Dodged a bullet just to get hit by another one.
For real. I don't think it even sunk in when I heard her pronounced guilty. It was surreal. If I read this book, I wouldn't believe it. Dave said on the Strictly podcast.
It is hard to grasp that this is a real story.
It is, because of 4 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Holy crap, man. It's like probably the longest stalking thing that ever happened.
Maybe not, but it's wild.
Damn, 4 years. And she killed the girl.
And kept up this facade, just...
She pretended to be her. Where are your kids, Liz? Do you have kids?
I don't know if she had kids.
Liz, do you even have kids? Is your name even Liz?
No, it's Shauna.
Is it even
Shanna?
Man. To this day, Carrie's body has not been found. Although during Liz's trial, prosecutors said her memory card had photos of Carrie's decomposing thigh and foot, which had her tattoo on it. Liz was also found to have several of Carrie's belongings in her possession. Authorities believe that Liz killed Carrie, let her body decompose, and then burned the remains to get rid of all the evidence. As she resided in Omaha at the time, they also think that's where the crime was committed. And this was done just because Liz wanted to keep Dave Krupa off of herself.
Psycho bitch. Is this her?
Yes. Psychotic.
She ain't even that cute.
She's not. Look at the other pictures.
Oh, is this like where they passed?
Yeah, I think that was his building. Look at her. No wonder you gotta stalk people. No, I'm kidding. That's mean. Doesn't even make sense. Whore from Dave? Is it like whore from Dave? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
More from Dave. So, moral of the story.
Oh. She went psycho and put like...
His last name. Girl, ain't no man worth it. I don't know how you didn't think you were going to get caught up. Though you almost did it.
Well, that was a wild story.
The psycho stalker.
Yeah.
A girl just to get a man.
That's insane. I just know. Ladies, just no. No man's worth it.
No.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Can you make that?
Have you ever had a stalker?
No, but.
But?
No, but I almost. Well, I tried to file
A restraining order?
a restraining order on my ex-roommate.
Oh, yeah.
She was following me from work, even though she claimed she didn't, and she was calling me like on a block number.
That's a stalker, Val. You've had a stalker.
But she only did it once, I think. So yeah, that happened. But no, not that I'm aware of with anybody else. Love you.
I don't know if you consider what my ex did stalking.
What?
Like after I left him. I mean, he'd constantly harass me with phone calls and I'd block his phone. He'd call me constantly on Facebook. I'd block that. He'd figure out another way to call me and call me constantly. Did a background check on my current boyfriend. Like, I had to block him on Facebook because of like him stalking my posts and stuff like that. He'd go to my sister's posts and
stalking.
Yeah, it was for a little bit.
People get a little crazy when they break up.
They do. They don't take rejection very well. Yeah, that was today's story. What are your thoughts? You know?
Yeah. Have you ever had a stalker?
Yeah. Have you ever had a stalker? That's not our question for today. But have you? Or did you kind of catch on early in the story that Liz was actually pretending to be Carrie and Carrie was truly dead? I knew pretty early on.
Yeah.
I knew pretty early on in the story that it was her.
Suspicious over here.
Or did you have like a plot twist and you're like, what? The moment that you figured out that Liz was pretending to be Carrie. Yeah, so do we have a question for today?
Okay, so our question of the day. What natural disaster do you think would take the world down to create a post-apocalyptic type new world?
Loaded question there.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know that it'd be just one.
Do you think several?
I think it would be like a tidal wave of several. Well, you've seen The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm picturing something kind of like
like
that.
Climate change?
Climate change, yeah. So like you've got the greenhouse gases and all that shit, but you could have like with all the, I mean, just think about it. In the last several years, we've got increased volcanic activity, increased tsunamis, increased hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires.
Oh yeah. So like natural disaster type.
Yeah, well, that's what the question is.
What? Oh, what natural disaster? Well, you were naming all of them.
That's what I said. I think it'll be like a tidal wave. I think it won't be just one. I think it'll be multiple. But
I don't think it'll be a tidal wave.
One, a tidal wave?
I don't think it'll be a tidal wave.
I wasn't saying it was going to be a tidal wave.
Girl,
I think it's going to be a tidal wave.
Girl, that's a natural disaster. Don't put that in.
I know. It was. It's supposed to be like an analogy, you know, like it's a punny one. Yes. I don't know if punny one is the right thing to say, but that's what I meant. Yeah, like a play on words. But I think the one that will ultimately, I think it'll be a chain reaction. There we go. I think it'll definitely be like a chain reaction of stuff, but I think the one that'll completely wipe most of it out is gonna be like flooding.
Flooding, yeah.
Yeah, some sort of a flooding. So I think that the first thing that would happen is probably like earthquakes. like the tectonic plates moving and stuff, and like California breaks off, they'll be the first to go. And then maybe Maine or something, you know, like Florida's peninsula breaks off and stuff like that.
Florida will be the first to go. It's like halfway underwater anyway.
Well, California's too. Like, well, not, but
I feel like Florida like just keeps sinking.
But have you not seen about California, like the way that it sits?
Like the fault? The fault? The fault line?
Sure. I don't know. I just always heard or whatever off, that, like California is like...
possible, but...
You don't think that's possible?
That's a gigantic piece of land.
Do you not know that the continents were all connected at one point?
Yes, but like, is it gonna break off?
That's what happens.
I don't think it's not gonna go floating around.
It may not like float around. I think it'd be gradual. Like if it's not gonna be like dramatic. Because the continents were one at one point, but it took them millions of years to eventually get where they're at now.
So it's not really possible.
But you know how like the Gulf and Port Aransas or something like that. You have to like drive across a bridge to get there because it's basically not connected to Texas. That's how California is going to be. It's going to be so close that you can build a bridge to get there.
But then that wouldn't be bad though, because you would know. You'd have plenty of time.
Well, I don't think it's going to be like sudden for California to break off.
Like billions of years or whatever.
I think it's going to be a flood though. I think California is going to be the first to go. Like I think it's going to shift and be like go.
But not
and
sudden.
Then flooded.
Sudden or not sudden?
Like, I think it'd be like a big earthquake to like separate it.
So you think it's going to be sudden?
But not like huge. Maybe just a little bit.
A little bit what?
Cracked, like away from the US.
Okay.
So yes, sudden. Yes, sudden, but not like what you're thinking, like yeah. And then maybe it, like I think it might flood, like sink.
That would probably sink all the US if it fell into the ocean. That would definitely be a tidal wave. That's a big displacement of water.
It would definitely maybe sink half the US or something. I think it's gonna be flooding.
That's a lot. You think it's gonna be flooding?
Or something similar to the day after tomorrow. I don't know if it's gonna go that direction where it's cold.
Oh yeah, like so cold.
Yeah.
But then they had tornadoes too.
But like, it flooded and then it froze.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, flooding's my answer.
Flooding. So I'm gonna go with solar flare.
Okay. That's a good one actually. Yeah.
Take out everything. I mean, they've been worried about it. I don't know. I just read what I see.
Read what you see.
I just read what I see. I don't know if it's true.
But you believe in it.
But there's potential.
There you go.
There's potential. It could take stuff out.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Aren't solar flares what causes the aurora borealis?
I don't know.
Anyway, solar flares do cause auroras. Reported today.
Reported today.
So yeah, it's going to take out all the electronics and electricity, and we're all going to be living in the dark ages.
Does the do solar flares affect like our
magnetic field?
No.
Because yes.
That thing that protects our ozone, the ozone layer.
I don't know. I only know so much about solar flares.
That'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm not good at science.
Another thing would be the ozone. Something happened into the ozone and
greenhouse gases
burnt to a crisp.
That's what I was thinking when you said living in the dark ages. I was like, it's going to be like the Chronicles of Riddick, where, you have to rush because if the sun comes up you got to stay in the dark. But it's like there's this planet they're on, and the sun side, whenever it's the sun coming, it's like balls of gas. And if you stay out there, you instantly burn up to a crisp. So you have to go underground or like in shady areas. So you have to like stay in the night.
Yeah.
So when you said that, that's what I pictured. You're like, the Dark Ages. That's what I pictured. It was like...
That could be a thing. We all have to go underground.
Like the 100.
Yeah.
Radiation.
Radiation, everything. Burnt to crisp.
This is a very interesting question and kind of a loaded one. So let us know your thoughts. What natural disaster do you think would take the world down to create like a post-apocalyptic type world?
A lot of options out there.
Yeah. I mean, we're asking not specifically what do you think would wipe the earth, like even the population and everything out. We're saying like there will still be some sort of a population to create a new world.
It has to be a natural disaster.
Yeah, a natural disaster, not something. I mean, because we all know we're all doomed because of all this chemical and all the shit that our humans have created. But I'm curious to know what natural disaster do you think?
We all know the world's not going to be here in 1 billion years anyway. So the world's going to absorb it. I mean, the world. The sun's going to absorb it.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know.
So there's a lot of ways it's going out. But we're guaranteed to go out.
Yeah. So I say pretty much a flood. Like, I think it's going to flood everything and we're going to have, be like Waterworld. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe that's why I was thinking, because of Waterworld. God, I love Waterworld.
I've seen that forever. I love it. You always mention movies I haven't seen in forever.
Because I watch movies like that all the time. Like
the old movies.
Yes, I do all the time. I love it. I love going back on movies. So I say flood. Val says solar flares. So what do you say? Let us know in the comments down below on our YouTube. If you're listening solely to our podcast, you can head over to our YouTube channel and leave us a comment down there. Also, you can let us know on our Facebook. Send us a direct message. Yeah.
Give us some likes.
Yeah, give us some likes and subscribe. All the good things. Share our podcast with your friends. Let them know that we're out here and hopefully they're into this kind of stuff too and would like to listen.
Giving you informations.
Yeah, informations. All the accurates.
Facts.
Facts.
Throwing facts. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. And as always,
stay curious.